Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's the old captain coming to you from the Captain's Kitchen here on Crooked Creek. Captain's Kitchen, Crooked Creek. That's alliteration. Thank you for joining us this week for the Crooked Creek Hymn of the Week. Our text today is going to come from the book of Numbers, chapter 20. Chapter 20. And the chapter is bookmarked by two deaths, D-E-A-T-H-S. Miriam, Moses' sister, dies at the beginning of the chapter. Aaron, Moses' older brother, dies at the end of the chapter. That's just FYI. Many of you have probably heard or read or been taught that Moses was not allowed to go into the promised land even after all he had done because of disobedience that occurred at a place called Kadesh, K-A-D-E-S-H. Well, a little background about that. Back in Exodus 17, when they had just left Egypt, they were out in the wilderness and it was dry and they needed water. And so they started complaining. Sometimes the Bible refers to it as murmuring. They were belly aching and complaining. They went to Moses and complained to him. And so in turn, he prayed to the Lord, and the Lord says, get everyone together and take the rod that I gave you, that you used to cross the Red Sea, that you threw down in front of Pharaoh and others, and it became a serpent. You picked it up, it became a stick again. Take your rod and strike this rock, and it will bring forth water for the people and for the animals. Well, that was many years ago, prior to chapter 20. So we've got a whole new crew. A lot of those people have died off because of their disobedience. And now their children are entering at the verge, at the threshold of the promised land. Same place, same station, same time. It's like Moses says, I've heard this song before. I've been here before. As Yogi Berra would say, it was deja vu all over again. Well, here they are at the threshold of the promised land again, and here they are belly aching and complaining again because they said, this isn't what we were told it would be. Here we are thirsty again, needing water. And so they go to Aaron and Moses, and they fall on their face before God. And folks, that's the proper response. When we have a problem, not act out immediately. It's wise if we go to God in prayer, fall prostrate on our face and ask for God's deliverance and his guidance. Well, that's what they did. And God tells Moses, he says, take that same rod, go gather up the people, and this time speak to the rock, and it will usher forth the water that you need. Well, Moses is by now, he's tired. He's aggravated. He's ticked off. He has spent his whole life trying to get these folks to the promised land. And rather than be obedient to God, he does something different. In chapter 20, beginning in verse 8, God tells Moses, take the rod, you and your brother Aaron, gather the congregation together, speak to the rock before their eyes, and it will yield its water. Thus you shall bring water for them out of the rock and give drink to the congregation and their animals. So the instructions are clear. Gather everybody up, speak to the rock, the water will come, God will be glorified, and everything's fine. Well, Moses is not pleased, and so he decides to add a little twist to it. In verse 10, it says, Moses and Aaron gathered the assembly together before the rock, and he said to them, "Hear now, you rebels, must we bring water for you out of this rock?" Then Moses lifted his hand and struck the rock twice with his rod, and water came out abundantly in the congregation, and their animals drank. He was told to speak to it, but instead, in his anger, he struck it, and not just once, but he struck it twice. Well, God responded. Verse 12, then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, because you did not believe me to hallow me in the eyes of the children of Israel, therefore you shall not bring this assembly into the land which I have given them. So God forbade Moses and Aaron from leading the people into the promised land because of his disobedience. Ooh, kind of harsh, kind of strict. But I sincerely think that God was trying to show the people of Israel the importance of obedience. When God tells us to do something specific, he wants us to follow his instructions specifically, not to put our own twist on it, not to add anything or take anything away. Well, that's part of our lesson, but I think an application is for us older folks. Folks, Moses is one of the greatest leaders ever known, yet he was prevented from going into the promised land because of his disobedience later in his life. That tells me that I need to finish strong. Yogi Berra said it ain't over till it's over. And I want to finish strong. The Apostle Paul says, I have run the race, I've fought the fight, I've fought a good fight, and now I'm ready to go home. And that's the way we should do. We should try to finish strong. Don't mess up in the ninth inning. That's just not what we need to be doing. Too many people are watching. Too many people are depending on us, and more importantly, God is depending on us to be obedient. As I thought about a hymn, I was flipping through, and of course, Trust and Obey immediately came to mind, and I've used it several times. But right across from that is a hymn that's very familiar to those of us who are Cool Hand Luke fans. Cool Hand Luke is one of my all-time favorite movies. And in that movie, a gentleman sings, "Just a Closer Walk with Thee." And there's several things in here. You know, Moses had times of strength, times of weakness. But the writer of this, it's an anonymous hymn, but he says, I am weak, but thou art strong. Jesus, keep me from all wrong. I'll be satisfied as long as I walk. Let me walk close to thee. So that should not only be our song today, it should be our prayer today as well. Only 3 verses. And if you can just picture yourself in that prison farm with Paul Newman and George Kennedy and several of the others, it's a classic. So here we go. Just a Closer Walk with Thee. I am weak, but thou art strong. Jesus, keep me from all wrong. I'll be satisfied as long as I walk. Let me walk close to thee. Just a closer walk with thee. Granted, Jesus, is my plea. Daily walking close to thee. Let it be, dear Lord, let it be. through this world of toil and snares. If I falter, Lord, who cares? Who with me my burden shares? None but Thee, dear Lord, none but Thee. Just a closer walk with Thee. Granted, Jesus, is my plea. Daily walking close to Thee. Let it be, dear Lord, let it be. When my feeble life is o'er, time for me will be no more. Guide me gently, safely o'er to Thy kingdom shore, to Thy shore. Just a closer walk with Thee. Granted, Jesus, is my plea. Daily walking close to Thee. Let it be, dear Lord, let it be. Folks, how close are you walking with Jesus today? It's not where you start, it's where you finish that's important. And I, for one, want to finish strong, and I hope you do as well. Thank you so much for joining us for this week's Crooked Creek Hymn of the Week. Didn't have a lot of time this afternoon. It's a little drizzly outside, so I just thought I'd come in and throw a hat on and do my Crooked Creek Hymn of the Week. And I hope you'll enjoy it, and I hope you'll get something out of it. I hope you have a great week coming up. A lot going on. You take care. Come see us, and God bless.